Your anger is not power, it is a leash. And every time you react, they pull harder. You have been in that room, the meeting where someone took credit for your work, the review where your performance was described in language you did not recognize, the email thread where you were CC'd last, after the decision was already made, and you felt it, that heat in your chest, that urge to say something, do something, make them see it. That urge is exactly what they are counting on. Today I am going to give you 3 strategies from one of history's most ruthless and brilliant political minds. Not to make you passive, not to make you patient in the way that drains you, to make you dangerous in the way that actually works. I want to tell you about someone I know. She had been at the same company for 6 years, consistently strong reviews. The person her team came to when something needed to actually get done. There was a colleague, same level, same team, warm, easy to be around, always in the right meetings, always vocal about the work, just never quite clear about whose work it actually was. She noticed it. She said something once to a friend at work, then again in a one-to-one with her manager. The frustration was visible, the pattern was real, but the way she raised it, reactive, emotional, unstructured, it did not land as a concern. It landed as a personality trait. 18 months later, she was passed over for a promotion. The feedback included the phrase, "can be difficult to work with under pressure." She was not difficult, she was undefended. And there is a specific, learnable difference between those two things. Here is what was actually happening. While she was working, he was positioning. While she was reacting, he was observed as calm. While she was raising the problem, he was being seen as someone who did not create them. She was playing the short game, in real time, with everything visible. He was playing the long game, quietly, consistently. This is not a story about a bad person winning. It is a story about an unstrategic person losing to someone who understood the game she did not know she was in. The fix is not to become cold. It is not to stop caring. It is to stop being readable. And the man I am about to introduce you to wrote the manual on exactly that. Chanakya said, "Never reveal your wound." Commenting here tells your network exactly where you're struggling. That's showing your wound. Save this instead. No footprint, same wisdom. Now, the man I am talking about is Chanakya, lived in India around 350 BC. He was not a king, he was not a warrior, he was a scholar, and one of the most strategically dangerous minds who ever lived. He watched an empire fall. He watched his own teacher be humiliated in public by a king who thought intellect was a threat. He watched power move in rooms he was not supposed to be in. And instead of reacting, he studied. The stakes in his world were life and death. In yours, they are your career, your reputation, your income. The principle is identical. His first rule, the one that runs underneath everything else, not control others. Master yourself first, because if your reaction is visible, you are giving information to people who will use it. Here are his 3 strategies in full. Strategy 1. The pause. Before any response, before any email, before any conversation, when you feel that heat rising, do nothing, not avoidance. Positioning. The pause is not weakness. The pause is intelligence gathering. Here is what it looks like in practice. A manager I know was in a project update meeting when a senior colleague presented her team's work as a shared initiative he had been steering. He had been in one meeting, he had contributed nothing structural, but he presented it with confidence in a room that included the leadership team. Her instinct was immediate. She felt the correction forming before he had finished speaking. The old version of her would have said something in that room. She did not. She paused. She watched the room. She noticed who nodded, who looked at her, who looked away. She said nothing. After the meeting, she sent a brief, factual email to the leadership team, a summary of her team's deliverables, timeline and next steps. No reference to the meeting, no complaint, just the record, clearly attributed. She let the pause do the work. The email did the rest. The pause works because it denies them the reaction they came for. It gives you time to choose your response instead of performing it. Where people go wrong, they confuse the pause with doing nothing. The pause is the moment before the right action. Use it. Strategy 2. Document quietly. Chanakya kept records of everything, every alliance, every shift, every promise made and broken, not to use immediately, to have. Build your case in private, never in public. Here is the difference between the two. There was a man, mid-level, financial services, whose direct manager had been undermining him in leadership meetings for almost a year. framing his updates as incomplete, questioning his judgment in rooms he was not in. He knew it was happening. He could feel the shift in how senior people treated him. He started talking about it, to colleagues he trusted, to his partner every night, to anyone who would listen. It felt like relief. It was not. Word traveled, his frustration became part of his professional identity before his performance ever did. He eventually went to HR without documentation, without dates, without a single piece of evidence beyond his own account. The meeting lasted 40 minutes. Nothing changed. 6 months later, a colleague in a similar situation came to the same HR team. She brought 12 months of documented incidents, dates, emails, meeting notes, a clear pattern. The conversation lasted 2 hours. Something changed. The person who complains loudly loses the room. The person who arrives with evidence wins it. Where people go wrong, they document in a state of emotion. One bad week, and they write everything down in a way that reads as a vent. Strategic documentation is cold, factual, consistent. It is the record of someone who always knew they would need it. Chanakya built empires. He navigated wars, betrayals, assassination attempts. His entire philosophy of power started with one principle: never let your enemy see your wound. Not because the wound is not real, but because your reaction is information, and information is power. Strategy 3. Let them overplay. People who take credit, who cut corners, who perform loyalty without delivering substance, they almost always overreach. It is not a coincidence. It is the nature of that behavior. It escalates because it has worked. Chanakya's instruction was simple: stay clean and stay visible to the right people while they do. A woman in a tech company watched a peer spend 2 years positioning himself as the face of a product her team built. He was good at visibility, excellent at credit, mediocre at delivery. For a long time it worked. She was frustrated. She raised it once, diplomatically, and was told to focus on her own work. So she did. She kept delivering. She made sure her work was visible in the right channels: project documentation, leadership updates, direct communication with stakeholders. She did not campaign against him. She did not try to correct the record loudly. She just stayed clean. He was given a high-profile project, one where the gap between his positioning and his actual capability became impossible to hide. The overreach came not because she engineered it, but because that is what happens when someone has been performing rather than delivering. She was asked to lead the recovery. She was ready. Chanakya called it patience as strategy. The composed person does not chase, they position. Where people go wrong, they try to accelerate the fall. They point. They campaign. The moment you campaign against someone, you become the problem. Stay above it. Let the behavior speak for itself. Before I close, I need to draw one distinction. Because without it, everything I just said becomes a way to suffer quietly and call it strategy. There is a difference between patience and strategic patience. Regular patience is passive, waiting and hoping, absorbing what is happening and telling yourself it will get better. It is noble, and it will drain you. Strategic patience is different. You are not waiting for something to change. You are building while you wait. The woman in the first story, the one passed over for promotion, she came back. Not because time passed, because she used the time. She documented. She built visibility with different stakeholders. She stopped performing her frustration and started performing her competence. 18 months after that review, she was promoted into a role that reported to a different part of the business. The colleague who had been positioning himself, he was still positioning himself. She had moved past the game entirely. Regular patience makes you a better victim. Strategic patience makes you a better strategist. The person who has been practicing strategic patience for 6 months is not the same person they were at the start. Quieter, cleaner, more precise. And when the moment comes, because it always comes, they are ready. Not because they waited, because they used the time. You are not going to win by being louder. You are not going to win by being more frustrated, more reactive, more visibly exhausted by what is happening to you. You are going to win by being the one person in the room who understands what is actually happening and refuses to hand them the leash. 3 strategies. Ancient, tested, still working. The pause. Your reaction is information. Stop giving it away. Document quietly. Your evidence is your power. Build it in private. Let them overplay. Composed people do not chase. They position. If this landed, subscribe. And Chanakya said, never reveal your wound. Commenting on a video about being stuck in your career, that's showing your wound. Save this instead. No footprint, same wisdom. Your mind is your only empire. Protect it.